In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 no-fail secrets for letting go. But before I do that, please know that you do not have to do this alone. In the next Letting Go workshop, I'm going to share with you every tool, technique, tip, and trick there is to genuinely let go of grief, remorse, regret, shame, general confusion, lack of self-worth, and more. So if you haven't already registered, there's a link in the description of this video below, or if you got here via email, you will get an invitation to the next Letting Go workshop. So let's dive right in with secret number 1. Now, secret number 1 is to find out where you're storing what you're holding on to. Remember, everything is energy. And even though I happen to be an energy healer, you don't have to be an energy healer to get what I'm putting down. You've probably read The Body Keeps the Score, and it's a great book. I highly recommend it. But basically what the book is saying is that all of that energy from your feelings is stored in the physical body, but also in the energy body. And it's important to understand where your energy is stored. So for instance, if you have been through a traumatic relationship or you've lost a loved one, it's very likely that you hold on to a lot of grief. And that grief is stored in the heart region because that's where the heart chakra is. And the heart chakra is responsible for relationships. And again, you don't have to understand the chakra system, the aura, or anything like that. You just have to understand where that energy is stored so you can bring your awareness to it and eventually move that energy out. Now, here's the reason you want to do that, okay? Like all energy, your feelings try to manifest as something physical. And let's say that you are holding on to a tremendous amount of grief. Well, that grief, the reason it feels so heavy is because it causes density in the energy body. And the reason it causes density is because it's a very low vibrational feeling. And you know that because you feel low vibrations when you feel grief. And you also know that it's dense because it feels very heavy, doesn't it? It weights you down. Now, what happens is that density and that weight is in the energy body, and what it's doing is it's blocking the heart chakra from doing its job. And that all of the chakras, their job is to metabolize life force energy. So they deliver life force to everything they govern. And in the case of the heart chakra, again, you don't have to understand energy healing or anything like that, but I'm making a reference to this so that you understand how important it is to let go. So in the case of the heart chakra, it governs the chest, breast, and lungs, among other things. But if you don't allow it to do its job by holding onto that grief and that density, what ends up happening is that grief and density blocks the life force energy that the heart chakra is trying to disseminate to the chest, breast, and lungs. And ultimately, over time, if you don't clear out that grief, heal that grief, you risk chest pain, maybe even heart disease, lung cancer, breast cancer. And I'm not trying to scare you, but all energy is trying to manifest, and your feelings are energy. So those feelings of grief are energy. Now, you might relate to, say, if you have hip or lower back pain, and you also have financial troubles, okay? So you might be holding on to lack of self-worth, and lack of self-worth will absolutely translate into financial troubles. Well, all of that is governed by the root chakra, and that is where the hip and the lower back is. So if you're holding on to that, we really want to move that energy out so you don't suffer from long-term physical problems on top of the emotional issues that you're facing at this time. So that's secret number 1. And again, I will help you find that energy in the next Letting Go workshop. But in the meantime, let's move on to secret number 2, which is you have to find out who is holding on to what you're holding on to. It's not you in your pure essence. It is an archetypal role that you're playing. And I want to assure you that we all play archetypal roles. And there are 2 types of archetypes. There's a positive archetype and a negative archetype. It's the negative archetype that holds on or attaches to the things that no longer serve us. So let's say you have lack of self-worth. That archetype is very likely known as the victim archetype or the servant archetype, whereby you feel less than other people in the world. And so you will either remain in a victim awareness or you will sort of be a servant or slave to other people because you feel less worthy than other people. So you might be in sort of a dead-end job, or you might be working for someone else's dream when you have dreams inside of you. And there are many different archetypal systems, but I don't want you to get hung up on that right now, because none are better than the other. What's important is that you know that whatever you're holding on to is an archetypal role. And the reason you hold on to it is because it helps define the archetype's role. What happens is, as the archetype's role is defined, then the archetype creates patterns of behavior to actually step into the role. And you never step out of the role until you can identify the archetype, observe the archetype, and determine, is it working for me or is it not working for me? Shadow archetypes don't ever work for us. They can cause us a lot of problems, and the shadow archetypes make up the overall shadow. So another thing we're going to be working on in the next Letting Go workshop is shadow work, to make sure that you move from that shadow or negative archetype to the archetype of light, which is the positive archetype. At the end of the day, we don't really need to embody any archetypes, but for our healing journey, it is helpful to move from the shadow into the light so that we understand the transmutation of the energy of the grief, the shame, the remorse, regret, whatever we're working with at that time. Now, secret number 3 is to ask yourself intelligent questions. This helps a lot with shadow work, but it also helps you to understand your soul's evolutionary path and why certain things have transpired in your life. When we can ask questions from the positive archetype or the archetype in light, we expand our awareness and we start to understand why certain things have happened to us and how some of those things have many messages, lessons, and gifts, which are the very means that we need to move on our soul's evolutionary path, to expand our consciousness, and to be able to perceive our lives and the world around us through a much greater, abundant perspective. So when we begin to ask intelligent questions, we truly expand our awareness. And as we expand our awareness, we can perceive more things. And as we perceive more things, we're able to co-create with more energies. So if something like shame, remorse, regret, grief, lack of self-worth, general confusion, dis-ease is holding you back from things that you desire, want, or need, then those intelligent questions become very important for you, because as you expand your awareness, you're able to perceive the things that you want, desire, and need. And as you perceive them in your reality, you begin to co-create with energies that are all around you right now, but you're just blocked from them because you're holding on to all of those emotions that aren't serving you. Okay? So some of the intelligent questions that you can ask yourself is, why is this happening for me, instead of why is this happening to me? And I know those are challenging questions, which is why I want to help facilitate those questions for you in the next Letting Go workshop. So if you haven't already joined, or you're not already on the wait list, please click on the link in the description of this video below. And again, if you got here via email, you will get emails about the workshop so that you know when the next one is or how to register for the one that's coming up. Never forget to stay in the luminosity of your light, because you are light. You are a being of light, and you are so worthy of your healing. And never forget also that you are loved.